Well, as the rest of the world continues to be uncertain and sometimes even a little chaotic, it's time to have a look at November here in South Africa. So it is a quieter place than much of wherever else you might be thinking about. And it's true that South Africa is moving into a quieter, more settled kind of phase for a while, but it's not all quiet. Certainly, as the month goes on, there are signs that South Africa is taking a firmer stance on many things. Probably has a lot to do with submissions to the ICJ and the ongoing efforts at South Africa to prove Israel is committing genocide. And it does look like there's a more focused, stronger approach. There's even the suggestion that South Africa is kind of pushing their strength, pushing our strength a little bit belligerently. And no doubt we are going to create some enemies. It's clear in the chart that there is a kind of, at some level, a realignment with regards to perhaps some of our existing allies, and we've already seen some of that in November, and new allies or new so-called enemies, probably not quite as extreme as enemies, but disagreements and agreements varying with our international partners. And not only issues with the ICJ, but on the whole, South Africa is still, as was seen last month, having a realignment with regards to international relationships. And that's much more in the open out there this month, much more perhaps having some noticeable ramifications, effects in the news because of this idea of we are making some enemies during this time. Nevertheless, and especially for South Africans, it is a reasonably stable, quiet phase with regards to the unpredictability of politics or the drama of politics that so often has captured the world at this time, which gets us to have a thought about the GNU, because that is where and how we've seen some of the drama over the course of this year. And the GNU continues to also settle further. We've seen now new ways that they have to resolve problems. We've seen further oversight given to Parliament over the President's office. We've got all different ways that they seem to be using to try and deal with their differences, even if they're not necessarily always sorting them out. What is important is that the relationships amongst GNU partners is improving, but what isn't so stable and settled out of all of that is the ongoing issues that COSATU and the other alliance partners have with the GNU. And it looks like we're also in for a time of a certain amount of labor unrest. There are going to be strikes and other kinds of unrest that are coming from the alliance partners. And not only in that quarter, labor in general, there's strikes and issues showing in the chart, and there are other issues with services. Certainly things like water and electricity. Well, electricity has been more stable, and that continues to look pretty much the same looking ahead at this month, but issues to do with water in some parts of the country have become extremely critical. And the chart does show that issues with services are going to cause not only service disruptions, but things like strikes or other labor-related issues as well. So the government kind of has to meet with both civil society and people in general to sort out these issues of this underlying unrest, sometimes emerging as strikes. But, sometimes they would interpret this kind of thing in astrology in the past as insurrection and plotting behind the scenes. And of course, those things still exist in the world. It's not the level at which things are going to happen in this country, but it certainly gives the picture that in terms of for a change, not in the government elsewhere, there are things going on behind the scenes that are eventually going to erupt into the public sphere and cause a certain amount of political issues and potentially clashes of some kind. Nevertheless, it is not at a large, dramatic scale that we need to be overly concerned at this time in our charts. What is perhaps of some concern is that the currency is going to do a little less well this month than it has been doing in recent times. There's a little bit of a slide. It's a little bit as if it's depicted as doesn't know where to go and is kind of sitting there and is influenced by almost anything in that kind of situation. It's not that the rand is doing badly, it's that it's in a situation where it's very easily influenced. It always is. But perhaps with increasing strength of the US dollar or the US outlook or political situation or economic situation, whatever it is that is strengthening their currency might be weakening ours. But apart from that, that's the usual culprit. We've also got this vulnerability to all sorts of outside influences, not unusual for the rand, but very emphasized in our chart at the moment. What is also emphasized and perhaps is a counterweight to that with this particular chart, it's like it's saying focus strongly on local resources, and that really means one of the ways to deal with the economic situation or the rand situation is just to refocus back on our own capacity to export and bring revenue in, the things which strengthen when the rand weakens. So as we know, we get more exports when the rand weakens, and it's as if the chart is saying exploit what's available, exploit the resources, exploit what's available export-wise. That's what's going to be the counterweight to the weakening rand. So even if that is happening, economically, trade is looking quite strong. However, subtle warnings, anyone in the government listening, you need to hear this one, that there can be a situation trade-wise in this month ahead or in some new trade agreement reached where the other party is unmistakably benefiting more than we are, and we are kind of going along with it or being dragged into it. On the whole, international trade relationships with our trade partners, other things like that, which are already well established, are going to be doing well. And that's stronger than the warning in the chart. New situations or new agreements might need greater scrutiny. And that's the bottom line. Needing greater scrutiny is what's going to stop that having too much a negative effect. In terms of the rest of the political situation, well, it does actually look as if the MK party is going to make one or two wins in the month ahead. The word wins, well, with them that implies court cases because that's what they're forever doing. But it's not a large scale thing. It's almost like a luck, like a technicality. It's those kind of things where there's a small advance that is blown up into as if they had achieved something very great. But we're going to be hearing, they've been a little bit quiet. We're going to be hearing much more from them towards the end of the month. And also towards the end of the month, we do have indications that there are developments in the president's life, in Cyril Ramaphosa's life, probably in his own personal life, not him as president, that actually affect everything else that he's doing. It could be within the presidency as well. I mean, it's so comprehensive in this chart that it suggests that there's big changes in his life and in his office that have implications at a larger scale. Traditionally, though, we take this as meaning more of a personal developments in his life that have those effects as well. And there could be some changes then with regards to the presidency. We've already seen that appointment of an oversight committee, and there could be more adjustments in the president's office in terms of how that's structured, in terms of how that then works. Not an adjustment to the president himself, although his position is vulnerable in this chart, must be said, but it's been more vulnerable. So we shall see how much Scott's got. 2025 is the more challenging year in terms of his vulnerability as a president. And we'll talk about that next year. We'll probably see some things pop up in the year ahead, in early January. But in the meanwhile, shakeups that might be good politically, but shakeups in his personal life that might not be so good politically. Nevertheless, he is shown as scoring some kind of diplomatic victory this month. Something like looks like a diplomatic victory. It could be exactly that, or something else which just kind of improves his status or his role in some kind of way and helps that settling and firming that is happening in the GNU cake as it finally begins to firm. So we could be in for better things, considering especially developments and changes around the world are causing such insecurity. We're actually standing in a relatively calm and stable position. So let's capitalize on that and make it a month for you. Let's see what's happening with your month ahead. Aries, it's a great month for getting ahead, going forward, putting your ambitions into action. It's going to look as if everything should be working in your favor, and to a large extent it is. The problem might just be that you are trying to go faster than things are happening, and there are obstacles, restrictions, and just limitations that might be standing in your way. It looks like while there's a lot of get, go, and get ahead in your chart, there's also a lot of frustration. And in fact, perhaps one of the greatest challenges to you this month will be your short temper or short patience. It's not a short fuse. You look, you're in a good mood. But it is that, like, as if anything that stands in your way, you've got no time for that. And that might be a good and working attitude sometimes, but this is not one of those times. It can cause problems or conflicts of some kind. So there's a lot of breathing and being calm and being patient, even if it's kind of the last thing you feel like doing. That's what's going to help things work much better. That can also apply to your personal life. Make sure that you're not allowing impatience and the kind of willingness to confront to cause greater problems than you need at this time in your life. You're also going to have to be doing a lot of practicing breathing there. But for the most part, you're getting ahead. That's also true in relationships. So let it go as slowly as it wants to go. It's still getting ahead. Taurus, you might not be getting what you think you should be getting. You might have issues, whether it's from salary or from some other source of income that you might be expecting, but do not panic. There's a shift happening in that area of your chart that's going to bring new resources and possibilities in the future. In the meanwhile, Taurus, you've got a chart that's really about focusing on your personal life, on the good things, and on the people that really matter and make a difference in your life. It's your month of friendship. That is the theme. There are going to be some changes in friendships. Might be old ones go, new ones come. And if there are any lingering issues of some kind in friendships, this is the time to sort it out and basically kick it out. That's probably the best way to go, because it doesn't look like you're going to make any get any benefit from hanging on to the old or hanging on to the onto baggage. There could be new romance and new connections that just bring new satisfaction and a sense of reward into your life. In your professional life or where you're working, it's also a place just to bring more sense of reward. Even if the money isn't what's coming in, find other things that can create a good sense of reward for you. It's also a month for fun, pleasure, and perhaps even a little bit of luck. Put your luck where it might benefit you, but it belongs in your social life right now. Gemini, it's your month for dealing with old stuff. And old stuff is primarily stuff from the past that is unfinished business. So, Gemini, this is your month for tying up loose ends, finishing unfinished business, addressing some of the stuff that you've been kind of dragging along that maybe you've been avoiding confronting and needs a little bit of confrontation. In fact, when it comes to relationships of various kinds, be they personal or other kinds of relationships, it might be time to confront a little bit. Be careful, you're good with words, and sometimes you might slay people where it's not absolutely necessary to do that. But you're also very good at being diplomatic and social and keeping people happy. find a happy medium between those two things. You need to clear your space, assert your space. You need to do those kinds of things. But at the same time, you need to maintain those good relationships. Whatever it takes, though, it's really time to move on in some kind of way. There seems to be no benefit from a lot of the baggage that you're carrying around in some way. It's a little bit like get back to basics, get back to roots, get back to your foundations, get back to the things that you know are the reliable things you can stand on, whether those are goals, people, circumstances. That's what's going to help you go ahead. Cancerians, not an uncommon dilemma for you this month, as on the one hand, you feel like being reclusive, feeling a bit withdrawn, feeling like doing your own thing or keeping to yourself or going into your cave, which is really what that's about. And on the other hand, your chart is saying this is really the time to get out there, make it happen, put yourself out there, and even draw the light onto yourself. Well, the the dilemma is up to you, and generally you've probably got to do a little bit of both of those kind of things. But it must be said, this is a good time for spending time alone, for withdrawing to your cave and kind of clearing your own space in that kind of way. So, although you will need to put yourself out there, and especially in terms of professional stuff, you're going to have to either stand up for yourself, assert something, or push for something to happen. But nevertheless, the balance of spending time alone is a good opportunity to kind of clear your energy from dealing with all those difficult things that are coming from other people. Not a great month for interpersonal relationships, although your own personal relationship might actually be the one stable ground that you can have. And that's still looking like a very good, stable source of things. But all these other people, give it a break, spend time on your own. Leo, like your neighbors, the Cancerians, it's kind of home time for you. Time to withdraw back into your own space and kind of regain your power in some way. It's not going to work for everyone. It must be said that even though the chart is saying it's time to do that, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy to do that as well. It does look like, in common with practically everyone in the world, let alone everyone in our zodiac, this month there's a little bit of interpersonal stuff or a little bit of uncomfortableness with other people during this period. And one of the ways to strengthen yourself is to get onto your own territory, onto your own foundations, and build some of your strength that way. It's a great opportunity to start building a little bit of security as well, especially since money is a little bit unpredictable at this time, so you need to do things which enhance your greater sense of security. So while the chart says on the one hand, retreat into your personal home space, it also says there are great benefits there to be found. There could be great resources or opportunities that come from your familiar territory, not from new or distant territories in some way. So there's still advancement. It's not sitting back, kicking your heels and doing nothing in your home space. It's draw on the resources that are available to you from there, draw your strength from there, and there are things and people there that are going to take you forward. Virgo, it appears to be your month of letting go. And some of that letting go is stuff that you want to let go of, stuff that you've identified, stuff that it's kind of about time I could let go of that. And some of it is not up to you. And it's almost as if it flies away on its own or even gets taken away in some form. And for you, the way to go this month is let it go, whether it's willing or unwilling. If it's going, wave it goodbye. Bar the windows and doors so that it doesn't come back. It's a clearing out that needs to happen to you. Some Virgos will be experiencing some kind of loss or feeling of loss that's clearly related to exactly what that is all about. But like everyone else, you can also get a lot of strength by familiar territory and home ground. So it's finding your space and claiming your space that will provide the anchor for you. But for you, it's really a question of what am I hanging on to that is holding me back? Fortunately, communication is good, People are hearing you, loved ones are hearing you. So there's a lot of strength and support that you can gain from people, loved ones, and your important relationships. Relationship is looking good at this time, especially domestic relationships, people that are in the same house as you. So that's where your strength is really coming from, enabling you to let go where you need to let go. Libra, it does look like there's opportunities for fun and pleasure and even relationships during this month. That's new relationships as well as benefits from your existing relationship if you're in a relationship. But it's not all play. There's got to be some work as well. And the work is matters around the house and things at home that need to be done. There's unfinished business. There might be matters with the physical house itself or the domestic space or something like that. And you might even be moving, and that's the reason why this is coming up. But there's certainly the need to kind of re-establish your foundations, clean them up a little bit, re-establish them. That's what's actually allowing the benefits from your personal relationships to flow. It might also be that you need to just have some fun to balance against the kind of slog work or unfinished business that you're busy finishing. It's almost like it looks like you're dealing with some old stuff. This isn't about you need to finish unfinished business that you're doing, and you just got to deal with some stuff. But you need to balance that with your personal life and with fun and pleasures and things that you can get a little bit of a break from. Also, good time to focus on your creativity, on ways that you express yourself in other ways, and maybe even develop some of that creativity or artistic side into something beneficial for yourself. Could be a great time to kind of go for it in the realm of your talents. Scorpio, also a great month for fun and pleasure for you, just like your next door neighbors, the Librans. In your case, though, it might ruffle some feathers. Not an unusual thing for you to do, ruffling other people's feathers, but one of the areas of your life that might be affected is the area of friendship. It does look like there are also changes happening in your friendship circle, or might be just not the circle, but in some kind of one-to-one friendship situation. And if it's necessary, if it's what you want, by all means, changes are what is going on, what is necessary in the social sphere. But it does look like some of that ruffling of feathers this month is that Scorpio thing of pushing a little bit extra or being provocative and seeing how far you can go. And sometimes you need to remember that some people can't take the heat and you just got to like ease up because it's unnecessary. In your professional life, this is a great month for getting ahead, going forward, and most importantly, focusing on your unique skills and talents and how you can use those or what you have to offer with respect to those. If it's not your business, if someone else is benefiting from them, make sure you get handsomely rewarded. But the most important thing is put your skills and talents into action. Now's the time they're really going to get you somewhere. Sagittarius, it's the grunt and groan work for you this month. I'm afraid it's just one of those times when it's not a time of fun and pleasure, not a time on focusing on your best goals. It's the stuff that's got to be done. And there's always that kind of stuff, but it's kind of like this is one of those months where if you do it now, it's an investment in your time ahead, in your goals. It's getting a lot of things out of the way that could crop up later on. There's also some things which were left aside a while ago, that unfinished business that needs to be brought back to the light that can be completed. So look at some of those, and those can also provide a great sense of relief at this time against the stuff that has to be done. And you actually can feel like you're going forward in some way. Nevertheless, one of the challenges, and a very classically Sagittarian one this month, is about wastefulness. Be careful to use your resources in a more focused way, because it looks like there's a lot going to waste, but because you're overdoing something. It's like you're putting in 150% of the energy to get 100% of the job done. You're putting in 150% of the resources to get 100% of the stuff done. So concentrate more on ditching the old before you launch ahead and letting the excess take over. Capricorn's kind of all about your personal relationships at this time, while others have been clearing out their closets and dealing with old baggages and all sorts of things that are standing in the way of their goals. In your case, that theme applies to your personal life and to your relationships. And it does look like, on the one hand, there's the issue of old stuff that needs to be dealt with, completed, and let go of with regards to relationships, and perhaps even relationships that need to let go of. There's something that needs to be confronted. And in order to move forward, you need to confront and you need to clear your path in some way. There could be an intensity in your relationship. There could be some kind of obsessive or compulsive or some kind of behavior that is disrupting the harmony of the relationship and that is negatively affecting you. So this is really a time to look at clean up in your personal life. It does look like that does mean you're going to have to accept some changes that you don't like and perhaps accept some loss that you don't like. And that's not only about relationships. It is a month where there could be losses of some kind, and that's a way of kind of reconsolidating. So look at it that way. Focus on your personal life. You're getting close to your birthday, so it might take a little while, and wait until you pass that for things to really move forward. Aquarius, it looks like some losses on the cards for you as well. That could be in the financial sense and it could be in the social sense. It does look like there are some balances in your life that are going to allow that to be kind of more easily sustained for you. And in fact, something that you're quite good at and something that's really going to work to help stabilize your month for you is to deliberately seek harmony and balance, kind of accepting some things are leaving my life at this time, and where am I finding gains and benefits in some way. The chart suggests that time spent alone is one of the balances, and time spent with family or people who are like family is the other benefit. And those are the balances: alone time, family time, dealing with what you're going to let go of. That's actually going to make things work a little bit more easily for you. Another balance, if it's letting go of money, is that it does look like there could be some money or other resources that are due to you from someone else coming your way. It might already go to kind of expenses that have already been rung up. So it doesn't look like that's going to lead to some massive increase in your situation, but it does look like it helps keep that harmony and that balance, and that's what it's all about. This is a month where you need to get as far away as possible. If only it was possible to get all the way away, like you off to Mars or some other planet where you can just get away from all this stuff and this kind of negative or difficult energy that is all around you at the moment. In real life, there aren't many ways to do that, but what is suggested by your chart is focusing on your spiritual life. Spiritual life is something important and necessary to Pisceans. And even if it isn't high up on your priority list, it doesn't get you off the hook, because Pisceans are so affected by what's going on around them that your only option is to find some kind of avenue to just release yourself or just move away from all that human stuff of emotion. You're an emotional creature as well. You're super emotional. You get affected by all that emotion. So that's why spiritual life and other kinds of escapism, but healthy escapism, are ways to actually get away from it. Healthy escapism is also creativity. And really, where possible, taking a holiday. If you really could get away, it's not Mars, but go to far away, a journey of some kind, holiday, or just get a bit of a break. That might make all the difference. In a nutshell, you're getting affected by everything around you. Just get away a little bit and kind of look to a restart in the following month.